Hello, Namaskar and a very good evening to all the viewers watching NCERT's live interactive session. This is Simran Singh and you have all connected with us through eVidya channel number 6, 9 and 12. Viewers, besides this, we have so many different mediums through which you all can participate in our live sessions. You can also raise your queries by commenting in the comment section of our YouTube channel, that is NCERT Official. So it's a Friday and 5:30 p.m. on your watch, and you all know that from 5:30 till 6:15, specifically on Fridays, we come up with our special sessions, that is live streaming on school leadership and development. And let me also apprise you that we are running our special sessions for all of you as a part of Jan Bhagidari or people's participation for G20 initiatives. As we are proud of the fact that India assumed the G20 presidency and will convene the G20 Leaders Summit for the first time in the country in this year, that's 2023. The nation is deeply committed to democracy and multilateralism. India's G20 presidency will be a watershed moment in her history, as it seeks to play a very important role by finding global pragmatic solutions for the well-being of everyone, and in doing so, manifesting the true spirit of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, or should I say the world as one family. So let me apprise you the topic for the day. We will be discussing more on leadership for diversity with focus on schools in tribal areas. So when we talk about diversity for schools in tribal areas, they could be as diverse in linguistics as they could be socio-cultural background, socio-economic backgrounds, and also the geographical diversity that we see among the school students in tribal areas. So providing us more insights into the conversation, we have our two guests. So allow me to introduce you with the guest for this session. We are joined by Dr. Subita G.V. Menon, Madam. Namaskar, ma'am.
Namaste.
Good evening. We welcome you. Ma'am is serving as Assistant Professor at National Center for School Leadership, that is NCSL, NIEPA. Then we are also joined by Dr. Beauty Gogoi. Namaskar, ma'am.
Namaste.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We welcome you. She is serving as consultant at NCSL, National Center for School Leadership, NIEPA. And viewers, if you are watching this particular live telecast through television, then here is the contact number that is flashing on your screens. So in case of doubts, in case of queries, feel free to connect with us at 8800440559. And some specific mail IDs are also flashing right there on your screens. One of them is dth.class12@ciet.nic.in. So you can reach out to us through the different mediums that have been already shared with you. So without further ado, let's begin our conversation on leadership for diversity with focus on schools in tribal areas. So in the first place, Dr. Subita,
Yes.
I'll request you to apprise our viewers about the different areas that we are going to discuss today in the context of the diversity in the schools that we see, especially in tribal areas.
Right. So today's focus is on leadership for diversity, and in this particular session, we will be talking more about specifically about leadership for diversity with focus on schools in tribal areas. And this putting the entire conversation in a context, we know that the National Education Policy 2020 has laid a lot of focus on improving learning of children on one hand, and at the same time it has laid a thrust on on encouraging and respecting diversity, and also giving importance to the local context from which the children come. Also, it has suggested that schools should include a socially inclusive curriculum during teaching learning processes. Taking all these things into consideration, and also taking into consideration the fact that every child in the school has to learn, and the learning has to be in a very happy and comfortable learning environment where there is no discrimination of any kind. Taking this into consideration, we feel that this area is a very important, a significant discussion point, the concept of diversity and leadership in schools. So in this particular session, we will be discussing the definition, what exactly we mean by diversity. We will also be talking about the theories of leadership with respect to diversity, and Dr. Beauty will be focusing more on the practical aspects of diversity in schools with focus on tribal areas. And also we will in this context we'll talk about the roles and responsibilities of school heads, and what are the challenging areas, what are the areas required for professional development. And also towards the end of the session we'll talk about what are the systems and processes that needs to be in place in schools so as to respect the diversity of children and their background from which they are coming.
Thank you for informing us about the different aspects and areas that we are going to discuss today. So moving ahead in the conversation, I'll request now Dr. Beauty to inform more to our viewers about how do we define diversity in the context of school leadership with focus especially on tribal areas.
Yes, Simran, I would like to discuss today about the role of the teacher in a diversified aspect in tribal areas. So, what are the to cater the need of the diversified children in a one platform, the school leader face lot of challenges. We will be discussing about that also in details. So, firstly, let me explain about the diversity in my point of view in by focusing the tribal areas. In tribal areas, you will find that the diversity, we mean that that is a difference and that is a variation in different perspective or different areas, like the as you already mentioned about the socio-cultural, socio-economic, then geographical isolation, and that is a linguistic, then also the gender. If we will talk about the gender, then there is a two terms we would like to include, that is the gender. Gender means that is also we include the transgender. Transgender also we include under the heading of the gender. So these are the areas where you will find the diversity in tribal areas. So a school leader, what are the role they have to play to cater all these to mitigate or to cater in a one platform, that is very much urgent need of the hour to maintain the harmony in the teaching learning process. So let me explain about that leadership for diversity with a special focus on the school in tribal areas. So the role what the school leader have to play, because I would like to explain about that is in a local context, means in different areas what kind of that is a challenge faced by the teacher to play his role as a head teacher, or sometimes a leader may not be a head teacher, he may be a teacher also. So to cater for first point, we would like to discuss that socio-cultural, because in the tribal areas what is happening in some locality, in a particular locality, what is happening, the children are coming from the different cultural background. They may be a different, the culture may be different, and they come to the neighboring school, and the teacher have a great role to play. Because if their culture is different, what is happening to maintain the harmony in the classroom is very much difficult. Because I am clubbing both the point as a role and challenge. So if the children are coming from the different cultural background, what is happening, they are very much and their children find difficult to adjust with the school environment. So teachers have a role that how to maintain to make the comfortable to the student or children to the teaching learning process is very much important, and the teacher face challenges in these areas. The next point is socio-economic condition, because you will find in a tribal areas they may be a high socio-economic background or they may be a lower socio-economic background. So both the category children are come to the same school or same classroom. The teacher find this diversity in these areas also. So what is happening? This is also one kind of challenge to the teacher, how he will teach all the children in by without any discrimination of high socioeconomic status or lower socioeconomic status. So teacher have to treat them equally, or sometimes we use the word equity also. So equality and equity the teacher have to maintain, and in this aspect he faced the challenges. Next you will see the next point is the linguistic. If you will see that linguistic diversity also you will find in tribal areas, because in tribal areas what is happening, they speak the different kind of dialect sometimes, or but the language you won't find the concrete language in a tribal areas, is my personal experience. You will find most of the dialect over there, because for instance if you will see the Arunachal Pradesh, you will find lot of dialect in a particular locality, because there is a different tribal people are lot of tribal people are inhabitant in a particular area, so they have different kind of dialect, and the children are come to the same school where teachers are teacher have the face challenge, because sometimes what is happening, the teacher do not have the idea about their particular that is dialect. What is happening, the teacher face challenges in this regards, and teacher face challenges in this regard, because sometimes he may not know the what the children are saying, because their mother language or the teacher what the teacher speak and teacher native language is different. So in this regard also teacher sometimes face challenges, and what is happening, the teacher find difficult to understand the children. So he has sometimes if have to learn their language, and I will discuss in later on how they solve this problem and how they overcome this obstacle. We will discuss in later on. But you see, this challenge also faced by the school teacher or school head. So this is also one of the diversity find in the tribal areas. Next, in the geographical isolation. In tribal area, most of the tribal inhabitant areas are far away from the mainland or mainstream population. They are isolated in geographically, and sometimes you find the tribal people are inhabitant in a highly harassed geographical areas, like you will find in Ladakh. You will find in Ladakh, for case you can see that there most of the time that you will find a snowy snowfall, or the areas are snowy. You will find some of the areas in Kashmir also they are snowy most of the time, and for the northeast in Arunachal Pradesh also you will find some of the areas are snowy in most of the time. So what is happening, the teacher have to face challenge. For the case of Kashmir, if you will find they have a seasonal school, because some they are the people are also migrated to the one place to another to escape from the harassed geographical condition. So teacher have to face challenge. What he will do in that regards, because you see whether they will shut down the school for the sometimes, or he will continue the teaching learning process in by finding some of the alternative measure or not. This kind of challenge the teacher face in a highly geographically isolated areas. So I am just pointing out, we will explain also in later on. Then also there is you will find the gender diversity in the tribal areas. In gender diversity, if you will see that the treatment of girl child and boys, that is some of the tribal areas, they are neglected their girl child for their education, because they feel like that the girl child will help in their household chores or household activities, and the boys only they send to the school only the boys. So gender disparity is there, and the teacher face challenges, because it is very difficult for the teacher to catch hold the girl child to the school and to draw the attention to the girl child towards the education. So the teacher also face challenges in this aspect. If you will talk in gender, then also one of the issues also comes, that is transgender. Transgender, you will find in tribal areas some of the cases of transgender children also. But what is happening, that teacher also face challenges, because sometimes the society have a norms, and society have a notion that they would like, they are very much neglected this category children, and they simply wanted to hide this kind of cases, because they the family feel that downgraded if they that kind of children at their home. So they are excluded from the mainstream of education, and teachers face challenges to motivate their parents to catch hold to the that category children to the mainstream education. This is all about the role and the challenges faced by the teacher or head teacher in the tribal areas. This is all about that role also.
All right.
We will discuss elaborately in next
Sure.
point also.
Thank you for explaining it in depth. What is the meaning of diversity, especially when we talk in the context of leadership in tribal areas for our students. And let's also proceed to the theoretical aspects of leadership. For that, Suvita madam, I'll request you to apprise our viewers, what are the leadership theories or practices that define these practices for leadership for diversity?
Right. So there are literature talking about leadership theories. On one hand, there is they criticize the mainstream leadership theories. So what they are trying to say here is that there is on one side the trait theories of leadership, which talks exclusively about the personality aspects of the leaders and what it takes for a leader to influence and impact the followers, and which has an impact on the overall organization and the output of the organization. So that means that I, as a leader, what are the kind of personality characteristics do I have, which may mean the extroversion, introversion, or agreeability, or openness, or even they talk about neuroticism, etc., etc. So so this is like a very linear kind of a process where there is a leader, there is a follower, and there is a personality characteristics which has an impact on the followers to influence them. But in the concept of leadership for diversity, the concept of leadership gets a little complicated, because there is a very diversity of the context is taken into consideration, which means that there is the social, the racial, the cultural, the socio-cultural issues that has an impact on the way leaders lead and also the followers get influenced. So this means that the process aspect of leadership, there's a lot of relationships, the interpersonal relationship that is involved in such kind of situations, and it is complicated because it talks about how a leader navigates and negotiates through these kind of complicated relationships. And these relationships gets complicated because there are people who come from different social or cultural groups, and they bring with them different identities, right, which impact the communication and the relation, the dynamics and the relationship. So what I'm trying to say here is mainstream research on diversity does not take the trait theory of diversity does not take this into consideration, while the more focused leadership theories on diversity talks about the intergroup relationship and how that impacts the followers and the ability to influence the followers. This is important because this has a lot of implications in a school setup, which Dr. Beauty talks about, especially in a tribal setup, classroom setup. It has an impact on the interpersonal relationship between the teachers, the interpersonal relationship between the school head and the teacher and the staff, how the children are perceived, how the teachers are perceived by the children, and there can be conflicts, there can be isolation, there can be exclusion, there can be groupism, there can be power plays in play. Tools of power in play. So these are things that needs to be taken into consideration when we talk about diversity in schools. And going by the intercultural view, that we are all cultural beings shaped and oriented by the cultures of the group to which we belong. So when I said we have with us our own value systems and our own mannerisms and how we perceive things, which has a huge impact on the background from which we come. So leadership for diversity takes this intercultural view, and certain concepts of leadership that come here is a value-led moral leadership, where as a leader they need to imbibe values of social justice, inclusion and equality. And when I say how it is complicated, because how do you ensure that the followers are influenced by you as a leader? This comes only when you as a leader, you believe that the other person is also capable of doing something. So many a times these are children who have been traditionally marginalized for centuries together, for generations together, and they have been failed by the system. So as a leader, how do you care for them, how do you uplift them, and how do you transform them? So this is what the strength of the leadership holds, and this is what is meant by values-led moral leadership. Another aspect is the servant leadership, where there's a lot of focus given to the followers. The followers are very important in this kind of leadership, and teachers and students feel honored and served by the leader. And in this kind of leadership, the needs of the organization and people are prioritized. Then there is the authentic leadership, where there's a lot of reflection on the self, the values, and it involves a sensibility to the feelings, aspirations and needs of the others. And authentic leadership is led by a kind of leadership which is hopeful, open and responsive to social situations. And there is a constant thinking and reflection on what is important, what is worthwhile and what is right for nurturing and uplifting the marginalized children. And then we have the more dominant theories of leadership, which is the instructional leadership, the transformative leadership and the distributed leadership. So all this, when it is practiced in a school with focus on uplifting the aspirations of the children, it has an impact on what we said earlier, the inclusivity aspect, the social justice aspects, and also creating a democratic vibes within the school. So these are the theories of leadership.
All
in
right.
a very large broad
So
aspect.
discussing about leaders and leadership, it becomes important to understand the concept, what is the role of school leaders or school heads, especially in tribal areas, and what are the professional development needs that should be there from their end. So Dr. Beauty, please inform us more on that area.
Yes, Simran. Dr. Subhita already mentioned and explained about the theoretical part of the leadership. So let's see how they what are the implication of that kind of theoretical part in the field-based activities. So if you will see the leadership in the tribal areas of school head, then we will find that they have to lead that particular group of children who are marginalized, who are socio-economically disadvantaged. This group of they have to be lead in tribal areas. So the teacher have to be some of the norms he have to be follow. So as Dr. Subhita mentioned, the value system. So I would like to say, according to my point of view, if you will see the value system of the leader, then I would like to explain that in my perspective, that as a leader he have the certain norms he have to follow, like he have a moral ethics he have to follow. And the most importantly, he have to be empathetic to that particular group of children, because there is a children from socio-economical poor background, or some of the high socio-economic background, some of the disabled children, some are transgender children. So these differences he have to be respect, and he have to be empathetic to that particular group of children, so that the children feel happy and feel accepted by the teacher and accepted by the society, accepted by the parents. So this is the main rule the teacher have to be follow in to work with the children of that tribal areas. So there is a other kind of quality or role have to be played by the school head or teacher, like he have to be confident enough, or he have to be possess the quality to be a self-confident or self-reliance. He also have to be that a sound mind and sound body, so that he can lead a particular group of people in tribal locality. So this kind of that value system he have to be follow, as Subita said, and in my personal point of view, just I would like to highlight it all this. Then also the rule of the teacher, then if you will see, he have to be as a good communicator. He have to be because he many times he have to be communicate with the parents, and he have to be one kind of counselor also. If the parents find some of the problem, the teacher have to be counseling means helping one to helping themselves. So he have to be give some of the inputs to the parents, to the community, so that they can help themselves itself, to make them aware about the importance of education, and what is the benefit of the education, how they will contribute to the development of the society. So these are all the point that school leader have to be keep in their mind while he lead a school in a particular locality like tribal areas. So what are the next is also we would like to discuss here is the professional development of the teachers. This is self development of the teacher or head teacher is or school leader we so called. So that is also important to develop their skills, develop their quality, to enhance the quality of the education in tribal areas. So for that for instance we can say that they can go for some training program, they can go for some certificate course or some online course to learn about the different areas, like for instance I can say that is a nutritional need of the children. The teacher must have the idea about the nutritional need of the children, and they can also go possess a degree of the record keeping, because record keeping is also very much important in the tribal areas, because how many children are admitted in a school, what are their height, weight, this health aspect also have to be considered, and they have to be maintained the record, their absenteeism, dropout, and age also one of the aspect they have to be covered in their record. So these are all the important point. A teacher also have to be possess their professional certificate in these areas. There is other also the accountancy and all the administrative point also they can go for the professional training. So there is a ICT also very much important area of teaching the children in tribal areas, because nowadays ICT implication in the school system is very much important. So he have to go for that kind of training program also. So this kind of things is required in professional development of the teacher, head teacher as a leader. So simply I would like to say all these things. So this is all about their professional development and role play by in tribal areas as a teacher.
Of course, and we would also like to know about what are the school level or the system level changes that can be brought about to promote diversity in schools or to support diversity in schools. Dr. Subita, will start with you.
Yes. So I will be talking about what are the kind of self-reflection school head should develop, and also the changes in school climate and the kind of, and a little bit about the pedagogy that can be brought about in the classrooms, while Dr. Beauty will talk about the policy aspects and also the teacher professional development aspects. So talking about the self, I think in our conversation we had already discussed about how a school head needs to continuously reflect on his or her own value systems and what he or she thinks about accommodating diversity in the classrooms. So one important aspect a school head should believe, and they do believe, which we have got when we talk to and discuss with different school heads across the country, they do believe that every child has the right to quality education, and this belief makes them do what best they can to cater to children coming from different socio-economic backgrounds. Especially the marginalized children. So belief in oneself, belief in the others, and like when we said servant leadership, so how much you respect the other person to whom you are catering to as a leader, that's very important. And empathy and open-mindedness and belief in social justice and equity and inclusivity. So these are the things, it's not just enough to believe in these things, but through action and through your school vision. So when I'm talking about the school climate that you need to bring about in the schools, it is your vision and the belief systems that you hold which gets converted into the vision for your school. So this has an impact on the kind of interrelationship, the kind of social, the positive environment that you create in your school. And basically, if we want to encourage diversity within schools and classrooms, then we need to accommodate different viewpoints, we need to accommodate different cultures and different traditions. And talking about the pedagogy aspects, it comes from how a school head along with a teacher can think through this use it as an opportunity to make the children learn from each other, learn about different cultures and traditions from each other. Like for example, I remember a school head who had asked her children to bring certain handcrafts which their mothers do in their houses, and bring it, and also the food, the different kind of food that they have which they can share. So these are just very small examples how school heads and teachers can encourage diversity. At the end of it, the student voice needs to be encouraged. Children who feel excluded, they need to be able to express what they feel, which requires a school head to reach out to the core of the issues of exclusion in the schools and the classrooms. And he or she needs to set up a fluid and a less hierarchical structure within the school. So on a broad basis, these are the systems and processes a school head can bring into the system. I would request Beauty to elaborate on the policy aspect.
Thank you. Thank you, Subhita. I would like to highlight some of the important point of policy, mainly focusing on the one act and one policy like NIEPA 2020. I would like to highlight some of the important point, and also the right of children to free and compulsory education 2009. I would like to highlight some of the point only. We'll focus on the education of the marginalized group. The right of children to free and compulsory education are covering the children age group of 6 to 14 who have to access and who have to go for the free and compulsory education. This is their right, and also this is applicable for the marginalized group of children also. It is not only for the children who are those are in urban areas. This act is also applicable for the children those are in the remote area or in a tribal areas. So next is also this act is also considering some of the point that the free textbook and free uniform they have provided by the state government as well as the central government. This is also their right. So one point also highlighting in this act is that if some children, because in tribal areas you will find the children are migrating to the other places along with their parents, because parents are go for the search of job in other places. So in that case, if they are enrolled in a government school, then the government, the authority have to provide them the transfer certificate so that they can join in other school or other locality. So this is also the right of the children. It is mentioned in this act. So that also if there is also one point is there, if the children is discontinue in a certain point in between the 6 to 14 years of age group, then they can enroll in some other school in their age appropriate class. This is also one of the point highlighted in this act. So there is also important point is mentioned in this act is that the teacher have to be trained. So teacher training is mandatory according to this act, and also according to this act, the support that the government have to be support to promote the research and the innovation and the planning and capacity building of the teachers. This is also one of the mandatory criteria of this act. So disadvantageous group, that those are children of disabled or that is also the transgender, they have to be covered in the education system. This is also one of the point is highlighted in this act. So that have to be in a they enroll in the neighboring school. That is also of the important point, because they have to be in a neighboring school, they have to be enrolled. That is their right. Maintain a record is also one of the point. So these are the all of the these are the point is mentioned in this act. And also NEP 2020 also they mention about the tribal children education and highlighting that they are prioritizing their education, and inclusion in the education is very much important according to the NEP 2020 also. That the similarities in you will find in this act and this policy is that the multilingualism, because in the this act also highlighted that the native language have to be the basic medium of education to the tribal children. Not only the tribal, for other also the native language should be the mother tongue, should be the basic instruction method to the teaching the children. And the same thing is mentioned in the NEP 2020 also. NEP 2020 also highlighting that that multiculturalism have to be respected, and in respect of the gender, class, caste, etc. So this is the point is highlighted in the NEP 2020. So NEP 2020 also focus on the mitigate the social category gap, because if you will see the in respect of diversity, then you will find that there is a lot of gap in a socio cultural, socio-economic, in other linguistic, in everywhere you will find some of the gap you will find. So the NEP 2020 considering that point, that this gap should be reduced, or this should be mitigated by different kind of initiative of the government. So this is also one of the point. So there is also point are there that to uplift the education of the tribal children, there is a lot of incentives are there, lot of government initiative are there, like the fellowship, then distributing the cycle for their transportation, and also the incentive to the parents to send their, so that they send their children to the school. These are also initiative government are taking to according to by the guideline given by the NEP 2020. So these are also covering the aspirational districts, means those are socio-economically backward area. So these are all the point in a brief.
Yes, you have certainly highlighted about some of the important system level changes that need to be brought about so that we can promote inclusion and at the same time diversity in school premises, and specifically when we talk about tribal areas. In the conversation we were joined by Dr. Subita G. Menon sir. Ma'am, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
connecting with us. We had with us Dr. Beauty Gugoi. Thank you once again
Thank you.
for being a part of this conversation, and thank you to all the viewers for connecting with NCERT in this live interactive session. Before wrapping up this discussion, there is an important piece of information for all of you. It is also flashing as a ticker on your screens that NCERT textbooks, they are available all across the country for this academic year, that is 2023 to 2024, and you may directly purchase NCERT textbooks from our sales counters that are currently located at New Delhi, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Kolkata and Guwahati. If you would like to download the soft copy or the PDF version of NCERT textbooks, then it can always be done from NCERT's website, ePathshala, our mobile application. And to explore more about the authorized vendors, feel free to connect with us and also to explore our website, that is ncert.nic.in. And once again, I am apprising all of you that we are conducting these special sessions for all of you as a part of our Jan Bhagidari for G20 initiatives. So thank you so much to all the viewers for being a part of this conversation, and keep watching eVidya channels. Stay connected to NCERT Official. Namaskar.